Hi everyone, this is Neil from Tax Management New Zealand. We're delighted to have Rachel Yang today from Trusted AML. She's a tax advisor and an AML specialist, and she will take us to a presentation about AML for accountants and bookkeepers. So I'll hand it over to Rachel. Take it away.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here with TMNZ. So today I'm going to present on AML Phase 2 for accountants and bookkeepers. So I'm here not to teach you, but I'm here to focusing on how to prevent AML risk for all accountants. So firstly, legal disclaimer, everything is generic commercial concept. If you need a private meetings or tailored to special situations, please book a meeting with me. And all the materials are prepared based on DIA guidelines for accountant dated March 2018. So let's start off with the news. So accountants jailed for laundering money via Hong Kong and New Zealand. So this is the recent news mentioned. So accountant was receiving more than 80 structured cash deposit and a small number of checks into his account. And he transferred more than $70,000 of Hong Kong, money to Hong Kong and New Zealand. And the funds transferred were varied from $400 to $50,000. And the accountant pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 9 months imprisonment with 2 years good behavior bond. Another news, accountant in UAE jailed, fined in 5.6 million dirhams money laundering case. So that's approximately 2.3 million New Zealand dollar. So he was jailed for 3 years and paid a fine of 30,000 dirhams. So how to prevent money laundering from affecting your business? So in my presentation, I will show you what DIA is looking at and how we can safeguard our business and prevent money laundering risk. So my name is Rachel Yan. I'm a chartered accountant, member of a chartered accountant of Australia and New Zealand, and a young regional advocate of 2020 for Auckland and Northland region. I'm a member of Association of Certified Anti-Money Laundering Specialists, and I have over 13 years of accounting, tax, risk, and compliance experience in New Zealand. I worked at IRD, banks, insurance companies, and chartered accounting firms. Here's my LinkedIn profile. So today's presentation will be divided into 5 parts. Know your AML risk, what you can expect from DIA, and how to do customer due diligence and KYC risk. What is suspicious activity report, and what are the reliefs under COVID-19? So firstly, let's look at know your AML risk. So professionals offering accounting service who are undertaking activities captured by AML CFT Act. This includes accountants, bookkeepers, and tax agents. So DIA had the regulation says accountants as well. So many tax agents and bookkeepers might thought they're not referring themselves as accountant, but they are captured in the Act. So determining factor is whether the ordinary course of business or one or more specific activity are conducted, and these activity are under the guidelines of captured activities. So this is the flow chart. I mean, it's very small in detail, but it's available on DII, Department of Internal Affairs website. So if you're not sure whether you're captured, feel free to have a look at the flow chart and ask you a couple of questions. As you can see, the first question, and it was just normally asking you, are you registered a company on behalf of your client? And the next question, are you acting as a trustee of a trust or nominee director shareholder? And the next, they ask you whether you are making payments on behalf of your clients directly from their bank account. And then the next question, they ask you whether you allowed your client to use your business address as a registered office address. And lastly, it's more complicated. You can see it's a big chunk. Let's talk about tax transfer, how you manage clients' fund. So we will go into that detail later. So managing funds. So in the DIA term of managing fund, it covers whether you are making payments on behalf of your client directly from their bank account, or you're making an investment on behalf of your client in security or other assets from their bank account, or you manage the sale and the purchase of the trust asset for your client from the bank account. Lastly, also including tax transfer. Buying, transferring, selling, or creating, operating, managing business and legal person arrangement. That's a term which is under captured activity. So most important thing you have to look at is whether you instruct a trust and a company service provider to transfer funds provided by your client to the bank account of a newly formed company, which of your client is the sole shareholder. And also tax transfers, which covers in there as well. So you have to make sure, if you captured activity under these terms, managing fund or buying, transfer, selling, or creating, operating, managing business of a legal person, you have to be very careful here because you are captured under the AML legislation. So what is not captured in the AML legislation? So if you're conducting a capture activity in your personal capacity, for example, if you are managing your own business, register your own family business under the company's registered office address, or if you're transferring tax credit, tax fund for your associate parties or your family members under your personal capacity, then you are not captured. Or if you're providing advice alone, you're not instruct or managing, you are just providing the advice, then you're not captured. And if you're doing auditing and assurance service, you're not captured. And lastly, if you are loading payments that then approved by your client, you're not controlling the funds, then you're not captured. So under the tax transfer, there is a guidance which published in September 2018. It says if you are doing tax transfer, that which activities relate to tax transfer, payments, refunds that are captured activities. And then the important thing is whether the accountant has control over the flow of fund. If you have control of flow of the fund, then you are captured under the legislation. And the control of the flow of the fund is a very, very blurry term. So currently the DI is looking into there, but we don't have the latest update on how do they determine the control over the fund. So feel free to have a look at the DI website. They actually mentioned that the extract. So the DI view the preparing, filing a client's tax return as part of the tax accountant service is not covered by the legislation. However, if accountant practice is involving in tax transfer, payments, or refund, that will be captured. So the key term, as mentioned here, is whether you have the control over the flow of the fund. Tax transfer explanatory note, September also mentioned, it's not limiting to, it also including other activities which whether you receiving or holding fund relating to clients' tax obligations in accounting practice trust account, or if you have authority over client's bank account or making payments, as mentioned, you have the control of the fund, and you're conducting transfer in IRD system and engage transactions, giving instruction on behalf of your client to another person to engage in transaction. That's all control over flow of the fund. But as mentioned before, DIA, the Department of Internal Affairs, is looking into this. So we will get a later update on this. Bookkeepers. So financial transactions by bookkeepers on behalf of clients are captured if the bookkeepers is not just doing their own bookkeeping service, but also conduct service under the captured activity as mentioned before. Register office. So a lot of people think, I provide register office for my client. Am I captured? So in the explanatory note, September 2018, it has an extract of register office, providing register office. So if you're providing register office or correspondent address under the legislation, but as long as the register office is not you're not providing standalone base, you're also providing accounting service for them as well, that's okay. But it will be captured if you are only providing as a standalone basis service. And if your accounting service is initially providing to the client, but now the company become non-active, and you are continue to providing the register office address, then you will be captured. And another situation is you are providing the register office alongside with other captured service as mentioned before, then you will be captured under the legislation. So now congratulations, all the accountants, tax agents, bookkeepers, you are captured. I think most of you are captured under the legislations. And congratulations to those of you who are not captured in legislations. Maybe you might look into how to be captured under the legislations. So whether this is opportunity or threat. So a lot of accountants, I spoke to a lot of accountants, they think this creating a lot of workload for them, and this is a lot of, it's very time consuming. Depends how you look at it. This could be opportunity, this could be a threat. Opportunities could be, you're getting to know more about your client database. You get to know how your clients doing their business, your background information of your client, and an opportunity to gain, some market on some of the things other accountants might not choose to do in the future because of the AML regulation. So this could be an opportunity or threat, depends how you look at it. So as long as you have, a process to prevent the risk, that's important. So next, we're going to talk about what you can expect from our regulator and the Department of Internal Affairs. What you can expect from the Department of Internal Affairs? So let's start off with the AML regulations. So the AML regulations are regulated by the Reserve Bank, Financial Market Authority, Department of Internal Affairs, Ministry of Justice, and New Zealand Police of Financial Intelligence Unit. So those are the 5, regulators they perform under the legislation. And DIA are the ones, Department of Internal Affairs are the ones with the most accountants and bookkeepers and tax agents will be dealing with. So what can you expect from the regulators? So regulators, they expecting all accountants, bookkeepers, and tax agents who are captured under the activities to have a risk assessment and also have an AML program, which include procedures to mitigate the risk of money laundering activities by client, and to have a compliance officer appointed in their company. This could be director yourself, or it can be someone from your office. And have a customer due diligence process, which you can identify the customer information and verify customer detail whether it's true and accurate. And they're also expecting you to report any suspicious activity and conduct 2 yearly audit review and annual report, which is submitted to the Department of Internal Affairs every year. And all your records have to keep at least 5 years. But I know most of the accountants probably keep all your record for at least 7 years because, we are really good at this. So what can you expect from DIA in the AML program? So in the AML program, those are the points which the supervisor, the regulators are looking into. So you must have these, titles, these points covered in your AML program, because I look at a lot of like AML program in the past, and I see like a lot of AML program are in templates. But what department doesn't really want is, a template one to fit all. So they want a program which actually really fit into the own business, tailored to the business services, to business process. So a lot of the programs you purchased online or somewhere, it doesn't really, tailored to your actual business. So you really need to read through and amend and fit into your own situation. And the supervisors, of course, also expecting you to have an audit every 2 years, and and also risk assessment, which covers all the risk, like the country you're dealing with, the institution you're dealing with, the type of customer you're dealing with. You have to identify the risk. What are your client portfolio? What are the risks? What are the potential risks, for your clients, for your business? You have to identify that in your risk assessment. An audit every 2 years, they must be carried by an independent person, nothing associated to your company, and they have to write an audit report, and you keep for at least 5 years. And in case of the regulator, the supervisors want to have a look. And then supervisors also will do random audit review or risk review to see whether you are doing the right thing. And there's also a requirement of that you have to submit an annual report, AML annual report, another financial annual report, by 31st of August every year. And that just to, there's a couple of questions in the annual report you have to answer, and then to make sure, and there's a question that would ask whether you have reviewed your risk assessment and programs and updated your risk assessment programs, because the regulator are expecting you to review and updating your program and risk assessment every year. So where to submit the report? If you go to DIA website, and there's a tab on the side says AML Online, you have to register your AML Online by RealMe. So if you have a RealMe account, you have to activate your RealMe account. And if you don't have a RealMe account, you have to set up, probably have to go to post office, take a photo. Now let's talk about customer due diligence. Customer due diligence is quite important. In this, there's 3 types of customer due diligence: standard, simplified, enhanced. So the standard is, we will talk about that later, and simplify is more easier version, but enhanced, the due diligence has recently been updated. There's some guidance on enhanced due diligence recently updated in August 2020. You can have a look on the DIA website. And the important things, you have to collect the information and have a right verification document, and you need to identify who are the beneficial owner. And for the enhanced due diligence, you also need to know that, where the source of fund coming from, what's the source of wealth. That's quite important. And verification information for enhanced due diligence, it's just a little bit higher. You just need some additional document in order to verify customer identity. Beneficial owners, BO. BO, beneficial owner, is the individual who ultimately controls and directly and indirectly of the company or the customer or the trust or of the entity. The beneficial owners you have to collect as part of your customer onboarding process. And once you identify who are the beneficial owners, you have to collect the full name, date of birth, address, in any prescribed by the legislations. So in these ways of collecting beneficial owners, so beneficial owners can be identified by 3 ways, and we're using cascade approach. So firstly, if you identify who owns 25% of the ownership of the company or the partnership or entity, and that person will be the beneficial owner. You have to go through the proper collection process to verify the beneficial owner. And secondly, if you can't find who owns 25% of the ownership or the share, then you identify anyone who controls 25% more, or someone who has the voting rights of 25% more. And if you can't find anyone who has 25% more of voting rights or controls, then you have to ask the questions: who make the decision of the company or the entity? That's when there's multiple shareholders and no one owns 25%, and you have to ask them who made the strategic and financial decision of the company. And that person will be the ultimate beneficial owner. So let's look at this. So if you have an entity company, that person is 100% owned, and that person is the beneficial owner. And you look at this one, a company owned by 4 people, each one owns 25%, and each one of them are beneficial owner. And if a company and 25% owned by a company or entity and 25% owned by other 3 individuals, and the 3 individuals are the beneficial owners, and then you have to ask more questions about the company. So who owns that 25%? Who owns that company? And if that person owns one person owns 100% of that company, and that person indirectly owns 25% of the company above. So that person, that individual, will be the beneficial owner. So you have to collect the information for that person as well. So there's certain things you have to collect and verify. You can always find those informations on DRA website. And in here, I'll just briefly go through. So for individual or sole traders, name, address, industry code, business name, if any, partnership, same name, business name, trading name, if any, where does the partnership established, industry code, and who are the beneficial owner, register address, and then you have to verify each partner as well. Companies, that's most common one. So name of the company, trading name, if you check the trading name as well, and business address, registration number, and the type of company, because sometimes you have LTC companies, you just see whether they're qualifying company or LTC. And directors, you need to verify who are the directors, industry information, and who are the beneficial owners who own 25% or more of the company. Trust, you have to go another level. You have to know the name, address, probably have to look at the trustee to see, who are the trustee and the individual who control over the trust, and source of wealth, source of fund of the company, of the trust. And sometimes you have to look into beneficiary of the trust, who are the beneficiary of the trust, and then you need to identify the beneficiary of the trust as well. And sometimes they have a professional entity acting as a trustee, and that you also have to identify who represent the professional entities, who are the person who make the strategic financial decisions of the professional entities. That could be lawyers or independent trustees, and they have a number of people, but you have to ask them who are the person who represent the professional trustee, and you need to identify them. And lastly, suspicious activity report. So if you find anyone or any of your client that is suspicious, to cover yourself, you can always submit on the New Zealand Police Go AML website. So this is Go AML. If you go to the police website, you can see there's a Go AML login. You can sign up and then you can lodge any suspicious activity. This is just to cover yourself, and all the information's confidential, so you're not exposed to any danger. And this is also for the police to keep a track of, what's going on. And if you have any problems, the police also have webinars and online or like a workshop on how to use Go AML. So have a look, go to the police website. Lastly, COVID-19 relief. So the COVID-19 relief issued in April this year, because the regulators, DIA, they realized that there's many accounting firms or like a tax agent, bookkeepers, unable to complete their audit due to the lockdown or due to the not many companies available to do the audit, and people unable to come to the office to do the audit. So they look into this, and they give a bit of extension of time to do this. So this is the date which, if your company is registered, is registered, is set up before 2018, 1st of October 2018. If your company just recently started, you have to counting yourself like 2 years from now on. So if your company started before 2018 or 1st of October, and for accountant, the date to complete your first audit, so it's 15th of November 2020, and then the next reported due is on 15th November 2022. And if you have trouble to complete that report or finding the auditors before this time, you need to talk to your regulators and let your regulators know. And also you need to, the report doesn't have to, be perfect, complete by, like exactly the date. There's always some time, extension of time available from the regulators if you talk to them. Just keep the conversation going with your regulators. And keep up to date with DIA. It is really important. Sometimes DIA always adding new informations, because you can see a lot of the legislations was or explanatory note was back in 2018. So now the regulators are looking into updating some of the guidance materials and new informations or regulations. So please have a look at the DIA website. And the DIA website, there are always some update informations. And that's really helpful as well. And there's also like some webinars for you to read. And this information is for accountant as well. So you can find out how to file your annual report and how to, what are the guidance, whether your activities capture the activities, and whether you, how to do like your risk report, a annual risk assessment, and AML program is always covered in there. And this AML online, that's when to register, you can file your annual report. In the reference document here, I put some reference document here. You can have a look. So enhanced customer due diligence guidance, that's just recently updated in 2020. So that's really important on source of wealth and accounting guidelines, how to develop your risk assessment program, risk assessment guidelines, how to do it, and how to identify your customers. There's a checklist you can see there. And lastly, accountant is someone who resolve problems you never knew existed in a way that blows your minds away. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening to my webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me.